they really did become a family, and they cared about each other, and they fought to the very end for each other.
March Madness is over for the Vols as they fall short in the Elite Eight matchup against Houston, and the Lady Vols lose to Texas in the Sweet 16.
This weekend, the marathon comes to Knoxville. I spoke with students about how they're preparing for such a steep course.
So this was totally different from anything that had ever happened in the 51 years I had lived here.
Newport, Tennessee rebuilding after devastating floods this past September.
Brandon's story didn't start as a regional overdose specialist. In 2018, right behind me is where he called home.
It's been a busy week for us at TVC. We've been all over the U.S. covering sports for you. Welcome back. I'm Aubrey Curran.
And I'm Luke Lamery, coming at you with breaking news from the pool. The UT swim and dive team broke the NCAA record for the men's 400 freestyle relay. Our Griffin Hadley has the story.
Tennessee history was made tonight when the Vols found themselves with a top 5 finish, the first year in Tennessee swimming history where the men and the women both landed in the top 5, and it ended in the perfect fashion where the Vols took the championship in the 400 freestyle relay, setting a new NCAA record. Let's hear what the guys have to say and their reaction from the big win.
Couldn't be prouder of these boys. I mean, we went out with a bang. That's what we wanted. We talked about it all year at the start of the year. This relay is so diverse that, we had the ability to do one over there at SECs and then change it up here and just make things work based on the day, how we're feeling. All that comes from just us knowing each other, how we swim and train together all year and just having this really close connection.
It was really special. I think you guys could see me, Jordan, crying a lot.
Yeah, I don't do that. So.
Yeah, me neither. It's really hard.
Nah, he's lying. He was fully tearing up. His eyes were red.
I had a weak moment, but it was well deserved. I couldn't have asked for a better relay to go out on. I'm super proud of these boys. Not embarrassed about it at all.
In Tennessee's first individual event of the night, the Vols scored 3 guys in the 100 free for the first time since the 1990s. Lamar Taylor placed 9th, winning the consolation final, and Jordan Crooks had his best finish of his career in this event, placing 2nd, and Guy was in the top 3 for the 2nd year in a row, placing 3rd. Martin Espenberger had his best finish of his career in the 200 fly, placing 5th overall, and then Bjorn Kamen notched another win in the consolation final, and Bjorn won a best time in his last race as a Tennessee volunteer. And Guy, Lamar, Nikolai, and Jordan said it better than I can: a national record, a new NCAA championship for Tennessee to end the meet in the best fashion possible. The Vols' 5th place finish was the best team finish since 2001, and it was the first time Tennessee has been back-to-back in the top 6 since 1995 to 1998, and it was the year with the most championship titles. 3 NCAA titles for the Vols. That's the most since 1996.
So nice, got to do it twice again.
I'm not the GOAT, but I fit the description.
Told him I was sorry. I loved him. He told me he loved me. He appreciated everything I've done.
Last weekend, I was lucky enough to travel with a group to the Women's March Madness tournament. A fantastic experience, even if the outcome wasn't what we were looking for.
A group was also at the men's tournament. Here's a quick look at what the court looked like after the tough loss.
The red and white confetti is covering Lucas Oil Stadium tonight as the Tennessee Volunteers suffer a heartbreaking loss in the Elite Eight to the Houston Cougars, a 69-50 score. And boy, was it heartbreaking as you watched Rick Barnes and Zakai Ziegler walk off the floor into the locker room in complete silence. There was not a word said by anybody. It was an eerie silence that you felt. In the second half, the Vols were really trying to make it a tight game, but they couldn't recover from all the mistakes they had made in the first half. There just wasn't enough time. At one point in the first half, the Vols were down by even 22. Ziegler told us in the locker room that all he could say to Coach Barnes was, "I'm sorry."
I told him I was sorry. I loved him. He told me there was nothing to be sorry about, that he appreciated me, he loved me, and I just wish I could have played better.
This marks the end of 6 guys' times at the University of Tennessee, and you could tell when we talked to them that the emotions were very real and very raw.
We truly are brothers in here. That's all I got to say, honestly.
Unfortunately, this is the end of our run here for TVC. In Indianapolis, Alexi Cowan, thanks for following along.
Such a devastating loss for the Tennessee Volunteers, but from everyone here at TVC, we all enjoyed their run in March Madness. To see more content from our reporters, be sure to follow us at TVC News Now on Instagram.
It has been 6 months since Newport, Tennessee was hit with devastating floods following Hurricane Helene. Our Nick McNeese showcases the recovery efforts from his hometown. Nick joins us now. Nick?
Yeah, there was over $160 million of damage just to public infrastructure, and that's not even counting homes and businesses. I talked to the mayor of Cott County and one very familiar flood victim to see how the relief is progressing. Just 6 months ago, my hometown Newport, Tennessee was hit with devastating floods from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, unlike anything our town had ever seen before. The recovery from these floods is personal to me. For my grandma, Donna Martin, this could have been fatal.
And it sounds like an ocean in the backyard.
The water was rising and was minutes from trapping her inside of her own home.
He called and he said, I'm coming after you. I'm coming to get you. And he said, grab you some clothes, do whatever. I grabbed my door key and my cell phone, and I'm out the door.
That day, she could have never guessed that the entire foundation and walls inside of her home were ruined, and that 6 months later, she would still not be back in her home.
And I thought, well, even when I went with him, I'm thinking, this will be gone, and I'll be back in a couple of hours.
Everything she owned was destroyed, but support from people all across the country has been overwhelming to her.
It's been a blessing and an eye-opening experience, but a heartwarming decision, choice too, because there've been a lot of people that I've never laid eyes on, probably never meet. That's really been a blessing to me and helped out.
Many families all across Cott County are just like mine. They are tired, but they're working very hard to try and rebuild what they had. Cott County Mayor Rob Mathis has been working tirelessly to try and help his county recover from these floods. He says the community spirit in Newport has been eye-opening.
I'm so proud and thankful for how our county, the whole community has responded.
He says there are many behind-the-scenes challenges that people are not aware of.
Nobody goes through these disasters on a regular basis, so when you're working with the state and federal levels, then you're starting a game and you're playing it as you learn the rules, so to speak.
He says the relationships that the city has built with nonprofits, other counties, and the federal government prior to the floods were vital in making sure relief began quickly.
We have built and strengthened those relationships for 2 years so that when the crisis hit, we didn't have to build relationships. That when a crisis hits, that's not when you build relationships, that's when you lean on them.
The road to recovery is still long for my family and many others in Cott County, but the end goal gets closer every single day. From Newport, Tennessee, Nick McNeese, Fall News. Cott County is still working on receiving more funding from the federal government to help with the rebuilding process, with the interstate leading to Charlotte being a top priority. Lots of progress has been made, but there is still much work to be done. This flood is an example of how a horrible tragedy can bring a community closer together.
Thank you for that deep dive, Nick.
The Southeast saw some pretty intense severe weather this week. Our chief weather specialist, Lauren Zaring, joins us now. Lauren?
Thanks, Luke. With severe weather season in full swing, we have seen some pretty intense severe weather events. For those of us from West and Middle Tennessee area, this week was definitely one for the books. Wednesday was the most active day of severe weather since the outbreak of 2011. Late Wednesday afternoon, areas of West and Middle Tennessee started to receive warnings. These warnings came from the multiple supercells out in front of the main storm line. As we moved further into the evening, warnings really started to pick up and some significant rotation was visible on radar. A family friend of mine in Franklin, Tennessee got some video footage of what the sky looked like in the midst of all these tornado warnings. Take a look. A pretty terrifying scene there with the blaring tornado sirens and lightning. We also see a possible wall cloud there indicating the beginning of tornado formation. Thank you to the Warrens for sharing that clip. Through the rest of the evening, the Southwest was hit with 728 severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings combined. This huge line produced extreme precipitation, so flooding is still a major hazard for Middle Tennessee moving into the weekend. Felmer, Tennessee experienced the most intense tornado touchdown. Professionals are still surveying the damage, but this looked to be an F4 or F5 tornado. There are currently 6 known casualties in the Tennessee from these storms, and we will update you as we get more information. Right now, it doesn't look like the severe weather will affect us here in Knoxville this weekend, but definitely keep an eye on friends and family farther west as we move into the weekend. We'll talk about our full weekend forecasts here in Knoxville and what to expect for the baseball games later. Back to you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Breaking news, the student government election results are in. I've been following this story along with the candidates all week. Our new student body president is Chase Darwin, and our vice president is Ella Blair. Congratulations to our candidates and all those involved. Now on Monday, I had the chance of covering the candidate debate where each one had the chance to speak on what they would do differently here at Rocky Top. Now this year has also marked a new beginning in the election process because it was the first time each candidate had to run separately. The current student body president told us more about this rule change.
Kind of candidate an opportunity to express why they want to run, express why each student should vote for them, but also what policies they actually believe in independently, to really broaden their perspective on student issues, but those opportunities and resources for students.
To learn more about these candidates, you can follow my coverage on Instagram at TVC News Now. A couple weeks ago, I also reported on a story about accessibility issues on campus during construction.
Last week, we heard back from the Disability Office who provided a statement about the different resources available.
This week, 2 student government senators took it a step even further by sponsoring a new bill focused on improving uneven campus sidewalks. They call it the Vols on Solid Ground bill, and I sat down with them to hear what they had to say. Take a look.
So this bill focuses on taking many areas on campus that are what we consider not level or not smooth, and trying to improve that.
We sent out a feedback form, and a lot of areas that we didn't think of, a lot of students gave us feedback.
Student government senators Nicolette and Blake knew they had the power to make a change, and they wasted no time acting on it with the Vols on Solid Ground bill.
So we went there and we're like, this is actually a huge issue. It's inaccessible.
The survey responses helped the two outline a couple uneven areas along our campus sidewalks.
And so for me, just seeing that daily really made me want to try to improve it.
Yet while student feedback was crucial, Blake even included some of his own. After all, it was also a personal issue.
Very kind of headstrong about it. Before I graduate next year, I am wanting to fix any issues with the sidewalks I can.
But with so many bills passed like this one before, some even by these two, what really separates Vols on Solid Ground from any other?
Yes, it affects people with mobility devices and mobility issues, but it also affects all the other students.
This time, the focus is on every student.
Making sure that for any general pedestrian that it's equally accessible for everyone.
In Knoxville, Aubrey Curran, Vol News. The bill went through its first reading last week, and next week will be the final vote to see if it passes. If it does, Blake and Nicolette say they hope to put it in effect as soon as possible.
As the race for Knoxville City Council heats up, we take a closer look at the current councilwoman for the 6th District, Gwen McKenzie. From making history as the first African-American woman to serve as vice mayor to her continued work as councilwoman, Gwen's dedication to public service is truly inspiring. Our very own Caleb Colvin sat down with Miss McKenzie to discuss her vision and the legacy she hopes to leave behind.
One of Knoxville's dedicated leaders is Gwen McKenzie. Elected as city councilwoman for the 6th District in 2017 and re-elected in 2021, Mrs. McKenzie has been a passionate advocate for her community.
I believe in opportunity and access, and to give people hope that they can be more than what they've ever even seen before. Because a lot of times I meet people, or I'm inspiring, encouraging them, you can be the first homeowner in your family. You can be the first person in your family to buy a new car. You can be the first person in your family to go to college or to get some type of certificate and degree and to have a high wage paying job.
Councilwoman McKenzie's commitment to service and equality is deeply rooted in the values instilled in her by her late parents, Woodrow Z. Wilson, a civil rights activist, and Doris C. Wilson, a retired school teacher and community volunteer.
That's why I say it's in my DNA. I've always seen my family and my parents giving back. And so that's just what me and my brothers, we just did. That's how we grew up.
As someone who has dedicated her whole life to public service, Councilwoman McKenzie understands the power her seat holds. She has invaluable insight and advice for anyone looking to follow in her footsteps.
You genuinely want to use this seat and use your influence to improve people's lives, and to be approachable and to make people feel that you understand what they're going through, whether you do or not. Because there's some people that, sit in seats that are not from a lot of the communities that are disadvantaged or that have the greatest disparities.
As Councilwoman McKenzie finishes up her final term, I asked her about the kind of legacy she hopes to leave on her community and on the city of Knoxville.
When people think about me, they think about hope. When people think about me, they think about someone who genuinely cared, who genuinely gave love to the community and was always available to help anyone in need, and also challenge people to help themselves. Because my thing again is opportunity and access. I want the opportunity to be there and access for those who want it. Not for people who just want to sit back and complain and point fingers and say it's everybody else's fault. We don't have time for that. That's how generations get lost. But for people who want it, I got them, and I got their back.
In Knoxville, Caleb Colvin, Vol News.
Crew 9 finally touched down on Earth last month after spending more than half a year in space.
Now, one of the astronauts, Butch Wilmore, who also happens to be a UT alum, addressed what went wrong at one of his first press conferences since his return.
There were some issues, of course, that happened with Starliner. There were some issues, of course, that happened that prevented us from returning on Starliner. And I'll start with me. There were questions that I, as the commander of the spacecraft, that I should have asked, and I did not.
Wilmore and the rest of his crew have all publicly stated that they don't blame any specific person. Instead, they think the responsibility falls on the shoulders of everyone involved in the mission, including themselves. East Tennessee is making a difference in the fight against substance misuse. Our Kyla Berry continues to tell the stories of people who are affected by substance misuse in East Tennessee.
Kyla joins us in the studio now. Kyla?
Aubrey, there are 26 Knoxvillians who have died from opioid misuse. Here in East Tennessee, one nonprofit is trying to bring that number down to 0. Brandon Stiles shares his journey from addiction to becoming a regional overdose specialist at Metro Drug Coalition.
Connected to something bigger than myself.
For Brandon Stiles, his connection is serving others.
I advocate and I do service work, and I help find the resources needed to the people that are the most vulnerable population that we have today.
Through his experiences, he is showing people there is hope.
Just because this is where you're at, that you don't have to stay there, because I've been there and I'm no longer there.
Brandon's story didn't start as a regional overdose specialist. In 2018, right behind me is where he called home.
So that carried on for a couple of years until I became homeless. I would stay with different friends back and forth.
One of these friends is his sister, Bella Wittenberg.
I've been here through every step. I've never left his side, no matter how hard it got. I've just been here.
His journey with addiction started at a young age.
Raised by people that were in the streets. They were the only ones that showed me that they cared at that time, and they showed me how to not starve, basically, right?
Now he's turned that addiction into a passion for serving others.
I visualize being the individual that is of service, that is creating opportunities, being a pillar in the community that can advocate for change where it's needed.
Brandon has been serving the community at Metro Drug Coalition for over 2 years, and he's been free of substance misuse for nearly 4. Brandon shares with me he's on the board of directors for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and now serves as a chair for their outreach committee. Brandon truly shows how you can turn an addiction into a passion to help a community.
Wow, great story, Kyla. Thank you. 114 human trafficking cases were reported in 2023. Tennessee is taking an extra step to decrease these cases.
It's called the Ink of Hope Act, and it was proposed by Republican state lawmakers. The act would focus on training tattoo artists to recognize signs of human trafficking. Not only does it teach artists how to identify signs, but also teaches artists how to respond to a person involved in trafficking. TVC News Now spoke with Senator Becky Massey, who introduced the bill, and she says traffickers frequently visit tattoo shops.
As it's been documented, a lot of the traffickers will basically brand with tattoos their victims.
The bill is now headed to Republican Governor Lee's desk, and if signed, it will be the first law in the country focused on training tattoo shops to identify the signs of human trafficking.
The annual SEC food fight is in full swing. Our Lauren Zering tells us more.
Knowing how successful we've been in the SEC food fight year after year really shows how much Vols care about other Vols.
The SEC food fight isn't just a competition. It truly makes a difference.
SEC Food Fight is a friendly competition across campuses across the SEC.
The University of Tennessee has been involved in the food fight for 4 years now. Each SEC school competes to supply their own campus food pantry.
All the work that we're doing is really to go back to our Big Orange Pantry and to support Tennessee students.
UT is really hoping to secure a win this year.
Every year we get really, really close. Last year was our most successful year in the food fight, so we came in second to the University of Texas.
Even though giving back to our campus and students is the true victory.
We collect all the donations, so we have bins all around campus, sorority village, in the student union. Everything is going to be put out at the end of the day. It's all for the pantries. It's all to raise awareness for the pantries throughout the SEC.
The food fight brings schools in the SEC together to work towards one important cause.
So I think it's really cool for these schools to be able to do this together. It really helps us almost create a growing community, and it's able to possibly impact the future of the pantries.
Anyone can participate in the SEC food fight by donating to the designated bins on campus.
Fighting something like food insecurity on campus takes everyone.
In Knoxville, Lauren Zering, Vol News.
The food fight will continue through April 17th. If you're interested in participating, you can donate to the bins throughout campus or directly to the Dean of Students office, Student Union, room 383.
With the end of basketball on Rocky Top, we also say goodbye to the voices of volunteers.
Remembering the careers.
You know, how's your retirement? I'm not retired yet, so.
Remembering the careers of Bob Kessling and Bert Bertelkamp.
We've been fortunate enough to have success, but we're still trying to find ourselves. Maybe Russell kind of brings something new to it too, and it's an addition, but there's other subtractions and Grimmer, and still trying to find out our best version of ourselves, and they're obviously doing the same thing too.
And the Vols' recent success on the diamond this past week.
You could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
The University of Tennessee is on the rise, lighting the way in everything we do, from theater to supply chain management to advanced materials, creating leaders in the field, on the field, and in every field. The best way to rise is to lift others up and reach for the summit together. It takes each one of us giving our all.
As long as it doesn't look dumb.
It takes a volunteer.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us.
We've got a lot of sports to talk about today. It's time for the Rocky Top Sports Report.
Thanks, guys. Hey, everyone. It is time for your Rocky Top Sports Report. I'm Riley Altum.
And I'm Kylie Atchison, bringing you up to date on all things sports here on Rocky Top.
Kylie and I had the chance to go to Indianapolis to cover the Vols Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games.
Here's a recap of what went down.
Tennessee has lost 2 games in a row to Kentucky. This will really be their game to decide whether or not they want to come up on top. So I think the fans can have a big deciding factor with that.
The Vols are headed to the Elite 8.
I had the chance to talk to 2 volunteer legends this weekend.
Not only was this Sunday many Tennessee Vols' last time on the court, but the Vol Network's Bob Kessling and Burt Bertelkamp's last broadcast of their careers.
As the final score again from Indianapolis, it was Houston 69 and Tennessee 50. So this is Bob Kessling for Burt Bertelkamp, Bobby Rader, John Wilkerson, everybody else at the Vol Network. Thanks for being with us, and so long from Indy.
We were fortunate enough to sit down with Bob and Burt right before what would be their final time calling a Tennessee game.
You know, it's been so busy, normal schedule, doing games and doing interviews and coaching shows. I haven't even thought about a final game.
Well, I have. I've thought about it.
Not only their 26-year experience, but their dynamic is what made the two such an iconic duo.
You know, you've got a job to do, and the job is to report the game and get the score right and make sure you know who's got the ball. Now, Bert's a guy who doctors things up a little bit.
Yeah, I got to go with the flow of the game. Bob has a lot more responsibility and a lot tougher job than I do. I'm the guy sitting at home watching TV, commenting on the game and trying to explain what's going on for the listeners.
And yelling at the referees.
And yelling at the referees and second-guessing the coach.
The two have formed quite a unique bond through these 26 years and have also developed some unique pregame superstitions.
This can get a little personal, I guess. I wear Boston Celtic underwear for every game. Is that too personal? And then in football, the only superstition I have is I never wear a tie. I always wear an orange tie, but I never wear a tie that's got a loss in it.
I like to say a little prayer before every game and you know, thank God for the opportunity to do the games and to honor him with the job that I do and the players play hard and all that kind of thing. And that's meaningful to me, and I do that, you know, 10 minutes before tip-off.
Kessling and Bertelkamp will forever be legends in Tennessee history for their years of service to Tennessee athletics. But one thing they want you to remember.
We're retired, not dead.
Yeah, that's right.
In Indianapolis, Alexi Cowan and Kylie Atchison, Vol News.
We also had a team down in Birmingham, Alabama, covering the women's March Madness.
Holland, Luke, and Toby will tell you all about it.
Hey guys, Luke Lamory here alongside Holland Hines and Toby Fagan behind the camera. We have just arrived at Legacy Arena in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, we've done what we can to prepare for that. We don't really look back. We are hopeful that we're a new team and it's a different game. They're playing really well right now too, and anything can happen in March, but we just need to make sure that we are playing like we have our last 2 games.
Well, you got to talk to Caldwell. I talked to Sarah Puckett.
I've given my all for this university and for this program, and you know, being a Lady Vol, I've taken pride in that.
Spencer tipped by Hollingshed. Spencer got it. Now Spencer into the lane. Turnaround jumper, the free throw line. Got it and a foul. Held it. Now Spencer's going to drive in the lane. Puts up a scoop shot. Got it. And one. Live at the half in Legacy Arena, I'm Luke Lamory alongside Toby Fagan. Score at the half, Toby, 34-30. Longhorns up on the Lady Vols right now in a half that's been highlighted by a 13-point run from the Longhorns. But I will say, the Lady Vols, they've been physical. They've been boxing out, and they've been getting those rebounds, Toby, just like Kim Caldwell said yesterday, being physical without those fouls. Up and off balance shot, gets the roll for 2. And here for Tennessee. Whitehorn with the top of the key. Whitehorn drives right side lane, off the glass and good. Okay, well, how did you feel about the Lady Vols' performance today?
Not happy. I felt like they could have done a lot better. They missed a lot of easy shots, layups, free throws, turnovers. They weren't the Lady Vols I saw last week.
How did you feel about the Lady Vols' performance today?
I think it was good. I know it wasn't enough, but, you know, they have been impressive all year. I mean, to see what the coach has done with traditional, you know, power institution and program has been phenomenal. So, good show today, I think.
Final score here in Birmingham, 59-67, and the Lady Vols take a tough loss to the Longhorns. And one look at the stat sheet tells you all you need to know. The Lady Vols shooting less than 20% from beyond the arc, 4 for 10 from the free throw line, and it proved to be their demise. They had to foul in the final minutes, down 5, and it proved to send Texas to the Elite Eight. Sends the Lady Vols home, and it'll send TVC home as well. I'm Luke Lamry in front of the camera, Holland Hines and Toby Fagan back there as well. We'll see you back in Knoxville next time right here on TVC.
By now, you already know of the journeys both the men's and women's teams took this year in the March Madness tournament. But what you might not know is where the journey began for the women's basketball.
Our Luke Lamry spoke with 2 women's basketball historians on the story of the game's extensive rise to popularity.
It's the 43rd Women's NCAA Tournament, and it doesn't come without its history. The tournament was instilled in 1982, almost 10 years after Title IX was founded. Women's basketball historian Susan Shackelford says the tournament's made progress.
I think it's come a long way. I think in the 90s it really hit a pretty high pitch and it became hard to get tickets.
In their book, Shattering the Glass, there are several of the great names in women's sports lining the pages. But you can't mention the Women's NCAA Tournament without mentioning one of the greatest coaches of all time, Pat Summitt.
Part of what really propelled that earlier peak was the success of Tennessee.
Summitt was a tough coach, and she was hard on her players. Some were able to work and learn from her, others weren't.
One day she ran all these suicide drills and there were 4 players and she said they went running in the last one and they ran up the steps of the gym and I never saw them again.
Summitt even coached and played at the same time. She played on the first ever women's Olympic basketball team.
And she had to work hard to be able to be in that Olympics because she had a bum knee. And she really got there with that knee and played, and that was the first time women played basketball in the Olympics.
Summitt worked for years to try to get more media coverage for women's basketball. But viewers finally had to turn their heads when another legendary coach emerged from UConn, Gino Auriemma. The fierce rivalry between the 2 contrasting personalities made for enthralling games.
But you know, she had a very different personality.
Yeah, she had kind of dignity, a kind of like, you know, controlled dignity that Gino didn't have.
Players came and went, but the rivalry remained until Pat's retirement in 2012. Pat reigned at the top of all basketball coaches with 8 national championships. She not only made a name for herself, but also women in sports as a whole.
They said, okay, take care of what you need.
Wow.
And so Pat is part of that group, and there are a lot of really outstanding women that came from that group that filtered into basketball.
Pamela and Susan said that Pat is one of the many driving reasons behind the growth of women's basketball. For the Volunteer Channel, I'm Luke Lamry.
Thanks, Luke.
Tennessee is coming off a successful trip to Washington for the NCAA Swim and Dive Championships. On day 2 of the event, the Vols won 2 national championships, one in the 50-free and one in the 200 free relay. Jordan Crooks won the 50 free for the 2nd time in his career. The 200 free relay, Crooks, Guy Caribe, Nikolai Blackman, and Lamar Taylor won yet another gold.
After a day 3 where the Vols broke several school records, the Vols got their 3rd national championship with the 400 free relay lineup of Caribe, Taylor, Blackman, and Crooks, who broke their own NCAA record. Tennessee finished 5th overall.
For the women's championship in the 50 free final, Camille Spink recorded Tennessee's best finish since 2019, taking 4th overall. The last Lady Vol to record a top 5 spot in the event was 2-time Olympian and program record holder Erica Brown, who won silver.
In the 100 breast final, Mona McSherry and Mackenzie Soroki took 2nd and 3rd. The Lady Vols also finished in 5th overall, their 2nd straight year of finishing top 5 in the country. This past weekend, the Lady Vols pulled off an incredible 2-1 series win over number 2 Oklahoma, the reigning champions, in Norman. This series win snapped the Sooners' 19-game home winning streak and makes the Lady Vols one of 3 teams to win a series in Norman since 2006. Game 1 started with a 5-2 win in extra innings, and Game 3 wrapped up the series win with a 5-3 win.
Standout performers from the weekend include McKenna Gibson and Laura Mueller, who both produced at the plate all weekend. And of course, Carlin Pickens dominated in the mound, earning her National and SEC Player of the Week honors. The Lady Vols improved to 30-7, and they will begin their next SEC series today against Mississippi State right here in Sherry Parker-Lee Stadium.
The dream is to go to the next level and everything like that, but I'm here now and I want to pitch here, and that's kind of the biggest thing for me.
The Tennessee baseball team is coming off a road SEC series sweep against South Carolina in Columbia last weekend.
We've been fortunate enough to have success, but we're still trying to find ourselves. Maybe Russell kind of brings something new to it too, and it's an addition, but there's other subtractions, and Grimmer, and still trying to find out our best version of ourselves, and they're obviously doing the same thing too.
Led by homers from Dalton Bargo and Hunter Ensley, the Vols won 11-7 in Game 1. In Game 2, a 2-run go-ahead homer from Cannon Peebles gave the Vols a 7-5 win. In the final game of the series, the Vols dominated South Carolina 7-2 with a dominant outing from Tegan Coons and Braden Krenzel.
In the midweek matchup, the Vols took on a familiar in-state opponent with the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles. The Vols dominated 7-1, a far cry from the past 3 years. 3 Vols hit two homers. The Vols are back in action this weekend against Texas A&M. Men's tennis took down Vanderbilt 4-3 at Goodford Tennis Center, and the number 16 Vols are on a roll as this marks their 7th consecutive conference win. The rain forced the Vols inside, where they continued their momentum and rallied for the win.
Women's tennis is ranked 6th in the country after falling to number 2 Texas A&M. The doubles pairs dominated, but the singles could not keep it going. The Lady Vols face Florida today right here on Rocky Top.
3rd-ranked Tennessee rowing just wrapped up a top 3 matchup against 2nd-ranked Stanford in Oak Ridge last Saturday. The Lady Vols kept it close in each race, but ended up losing to the Cardinal. They'll be back in action in Oak Ridge this weekend with the first ever Rocky Top invite, where the Lady Vols will host North Carolina, Duke, UCF, Minnesota, and Clemson.
Yeah, but sports goes beyond the field at UTK. It's also on computer screens. This April 11th through the 13th, UTK Esports presents their annual VolLAN, the largest gaming tournament on campus. The tournament will feature fan favorite games like Valorant, Overwatch 2, Marvel Rivals, Smash Bros, and more.
Taking place at the Student Union Ballroom, this year's VolLAN tournament is more than just a competition. It celebrates esports. Students from all over will come together to connect and compete. The VP of Marketing, Chantel Marivilla, shares what students can expect heading in.
And it's a pretty competitive space, but it's so much fun seeing like a bunch of college kids kind of come together to just play games, which is really fun and cool to me.
You do not want to miss out on the action. There will be a $350 pot bonus up for grabs for Smash Bros players. Get ready to game. VolLAN is open to all students and is the ultimate way to connect, compete, celebrate the world of gaming. You can register for VolLAN by visiting their Instagram at UTK Esports.
Our Maggie Schwerking had the chance to sit down and talk to Lady Vol golfer Bailey Davis. Let's see what she had to say.
Bailey Davis, a senior on the Lady Vols golf team, is a prominent leader, and I got the chance to sit down and talk with her about her goals.
I didn't realize how good I was until I started getting recruited by a lot of top schools.
Davis is a senior for the Lady Vols golf team, and her teammate, Isabella Johnson, says that she is known to be ambitious on the green.
Bailey is very confident on the golf course. You would never think she ever has a doubt.
When Bailey was asked about her short and long-term goals, this is what she had to say about them.
For my short-term goals, I want to win a college tournament. That's my goal as I close out my senior year. Long-term would be to be an LPGA champion. Like that's the main goal, to win a major.
Isabella says that Bailey takes all of her teammates under her wing and is an amazing role model.
I don't know what we're going to do without her, but she's awesome, and we're so lucky to have her.
Bailey's journey has been anything but easy. Throughout it all, she knows that she doesn't want her last putt to end with the Lady Vols.
And then throughout my college career, there's been some ups and downs, but within the past year, I'd say I've known that I want to continue playing for college and after.
In Knoxville with Vol News, I'm Maggie Shorking.
That's all the time we have for this week's edition of the Rocky Top Sports Report. Before we toss it back to the desk, I gotta say happy birthday to my co-host on the Sports Report today. So happy birthday, Kylie. Thanks for being fantastic at what you do.
Thank you. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else on my birthday. But thank you guys for listening. Now back to Aubrey and Luke.
Happy birthday, and thank you guys very much.
Yeah, happy birthday, Kylie. Seriously. We have more stories for you about activities on and around campus. A yoga class inside of an exhibit at the McClung Museum. Good job!
And a new face you can spot at Zoo Knoxville. Stay with us.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver. And we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
We are the Tennessee Volunteers. People who create connections, push boundaries, do the research that changes lives. We've got world-class academics and championship athletics. To be the best, you gotta learn from the best. And if you wanna lead, you gotta light the way. We've got what it takes. It takes a volunteer.
Welcome back, Vols. Tennessee baseball has a big series against Texas A&M this weekend, so let's see if the forecast will hold up for us. Today has been partly cloudy here in Knoxville. Temperatures are really starting to heat up for us, finally starting to feel like spring and summer. We will see a high of 85 later this afternoon. The rain should hold up for us tonight for Game 1, however, we should feel some pretty strong wind gusts. The sun should really come out for us tomorrow. The UV will be around 8, making it perfect weather to lay out by the pool. Wind will make the high of 87 degrees feel slightly cooler for us too. Sunday should bring us some scattered showers and storms to end the weekend. Hopefully this holds up for Game 3, however, I would definitely plan for some poor weather. Temperatures will again reach a very warm 87 degrees. That's all the weather I have for you this week. We'll keep you posted on our social media with any severe weather updates. Until next week, back to you guys. Thanks, Lauren. Zoo Knoxville has gained their newest furry friend. Meet Django, a 10-year-old male Malayan tiger whose mission is to save his species from going extinct. Django is one of the most genetically valuable Malayan tigers in the world. He was brought to Zoo Knoxville in hopes to reproduce the 11-year-old female tiger, Batari.
With fewer than 200 Malin tigers existing, Zoo Knoxville's Director of Animal Collections, Phil Kolkloff, touches on the impact and the survival plan program and what this means for the future of the Malin species.
Factor when you have an animal that comes in here, you have to make sure that that their age is appropriate for this breeding, and you can try for a number of years. At some point, they're all living beings. They're going to get to an age that it's not responsible to try breeding with them. So this is just the next step in getting more baby Malayan tigers here on this planet.
I mean, who knew we had such a rare tiger right here in our backyard? Now the weather's getting nicer, be sure to grab your friends and take the 13-minute drive to support Django in his mission to save his own kind.
I don't know. That's enough to convince me to go, Luke. I don't know about you.
We have to go.
Yeah,
I mean.
It's set. It brings in $3 million to Knoxville every year, so the Covenant Health Knoxville Marathon steps off this Sunday morning, and students have been training for months.
While a marathon is no easy task in itself, the Knoxville course may make it more difficult for runners. Our Alexa Durbin spoke to students about their training experience. Alexa?
That's right. While it's already quite a challenge to run over 26 miles at once, try running it on Rocky Top. I spoke with a student who has been preparing for the hilly course for months now.
Stepping into spring. For some, it's more of a race.
I started training in November and I can't believe it's already time. I'm super excited and the weather looks great, so I'm ready to go.
UT freshman Audrey Parham is taking on the 26.2 miles of the Knoxville Marathon for the first time.
It's been a great way to stay active and have a set plan, because sometimes I feel like when you get to college it's hard to know what to do or when to do it, but I learned a lot about myself throughout the process and I'm really excited to finally cross it off my bucket list.
But she also has another goal on that bucket list.
I'm hoping to qualify for the Boston Marathon, but we'll see how it goes.
What's unique about the course here on Rocky Top is, of course, the hills. And while runners in other areas might not have to worry, here, runners might have to focus harder on their mile time.
They come at you right off the bat. There's no way getting around them, and you just have to mentally prepare to go through those hills until you finish the course.
Zach Davis says it's all about knowing what to do when those hills come. He ran the Knoxville Marathon last year, and he says even though Knoxville has the tough hills, it also has the biggest support system.
The whole community of Knoxville comes out to cheer for you. There's people every step of the way, giving you drinks, snacks, whatever you need, and just cheering you on to make sure you finish.
And for Audrey, she's ready for the Tennessee hills.
Usually when I train for hills, I just shorten my stride length and focus on my breathing. Really helps keep your heart rate down, because that's kind of the biggest thing is if you continue the same pace up the hill, you're going to be dead at the top.
From one finish line to the next.
Since I've been training on the course for all of my other runs and how fast I've been going then, would it be Boston qualifying time? I'm feeling pretty confident.
In Knoxville, Alexa Durbin, TVC News.
Keep in mind that several major roads like Kingston Pike, James White Parkway, and Neyland Drive will be closed off Sunday morning starting at 7:05 as the marathon kicks off at 7:30 in World's Fair Park. You can expect those roads to open back up as the first half of the race ends around 9:45 and the second half by 1 p.m. You can check the course map and more race information by visiting knoxvillemarathon.com. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Alexa.
Yoga is a relaxing art often done in studios, but our Sarah Ann spoke to instructors to learn more about why yoga at the museum isn't just ideal, it's the perfect place.
Inhale halfway up.
Sometimes, peace can be found in the most unexpected of places.
Back into plank position.
McClung Museum, except people aren't here for the art or the history, they're here for the yoga.
It's really peaceful and it's a unique space to do yoga among all the art that's surrounding us.
Where anyone and everyone can come together for free every month to exercise or even for a break.
Movement that really makes their bodies feel good, no matter how much you move, how often you move, your shape, your size, your gender.
And just breathe.
When breathing is involved and stretching and mindfulness, it just makes you feel so good by the end.
A practice important to these instructors and one we often forget to do ourselves.
It's just a nice way to slow down, and we don't often get to slow down and breathe, right?
Enriching the mind and the body in the most unexpected of ways.
So yoga's a really nice fit in that it kind of brings this health aspect, some benefits of just kind of intentional breathing and movement into a space surrounded by beautiful things.
Which is why for students like Stephanie Kanar, the question of whether to return wasn't really a question at all.
So peaceful.
Yeah.
Like the lighting, the environment, everything it was perfect.
It was a definite yes.
I will for sure come back in April.
If you're ever feeling stressed from school and looking to take a relaxation a step further with Museum Yoga, the class will be offered every month school is in session. So keep a lookout in your student email for the next class. I mean, I think we have to sign up,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm looking for some relaxation myself.
That's sadly all we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Luke Lamery.
And I'm Aubrey Kern. Make sure to follow us at TVC News Now for the latest updates. Have a great weekend.